Good morning. My name is Tara Lacher, and it's a pleasure to be here this morning to talk about my personal journey as well as um, my pink scarf. You know, when I was growing up, I was one of those people. I was that girl that wanted to live the Cinderella life. I wanted to find Prince Charming and live happily ever after. But instead, my life has revealed itself, or I've lived through, similar to a puzzle. I've been given various puzzle pieces, and I don't know when I'm going to put them all together, but it's just been an incredible journey, and I'm going to share that with you today. As it starts out, I had three family members through marriage that were battling cancer, and I was involved with Mary Kay at the time, and they had a beautiful pink wrap that they were giving away to hostesses, and so I ordered more than all that I could, and I started giving them out to cancer survivors. I tell you, the reward from doing that was truly amazing, and or the gratification, I should say. It was just so amazing to see and hear these women's appreciation for something as simple as a pink wrap. Uh, that came to an end, and I was certainly sparked on continuing my effort, and so I had learned to knit the Christmas before, so I thought, why not knit pink scarves and give them away. So I started to do that, and I was put into, or a lot of various media was starting to contact me, and so I appeared in newspapers. I've appeared in various publications, magazines, and whatnot. I've been on a radio show, just sharing more about my pink scarf. And it was also in 2006 that I chose to incorporate my pink scarf. It's a nonprofit organization that gives pink scarves, knit or crocheted pink scarves, to cancer survivors. I'll put a timeline here. It was June of 2007. I was asked to be the featured speaker at the American Cancer Society's first annual Survivors Dinner. And I had walked in with my daughter. We had carried 75 bags of pink scarves in, and I was going to give them out to anybody, any cancer survivor who had not received one to date. So I walk up and grab the attention of those that were spearheading the event, and I said, where would you like me to sit until I speak? And she said, did you register? And I thought, why would I register? I'm here to speak. And so I'm sure I gave her this dumbfounded look on my face, and so she said it again. She goes, did you register? And I said, why would I register? And then she said, are you a cancer survivor? And I stopped in my tracks, and I said, yes. So she told me what to do, and I went and sat down at a table. My daughter was standing right next to me when I told him that that I was a survivor. And she said to me, she said, Mom, what are you doing? What happened? And I said, I was diagnosed with cancer earlier today. Her first question was, are you going to die? And I said, no, honey, my cancer is very treatable. So I went up, I was called onto stage to do my presentation, and I did have a speech all prepared, and I looked out amongst over 300 people in attendance, and there were so many smiles. There was a lot of people I knew, and yet so many people that I didn't. And it was then that I decided to turn things up and let them know what had happened 4 hours earlier to myself. I said, I joined your family today. There was silence in the room. You could have heard a pin drop. 4 hours earlier, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. They were all in disbelief that I was even there. I went on to share the story of my pink scarf, and at the end of that presentation, I was awarded with one of my own pink scarves, and I have it here today. This is what they look like. That was truly, truly touching and amazing, and I knew right then what it was like to be part of the Pink Scarf family. It was also in the month of June that my mom's health was really, really precarious, and 22 days later, she lost her life. And I was battling with cancer and trying to figure out what we're going to do, and also dealing with the loss of my mom and my dad, who did not care to get up and speak, asked me if I would speak for him at the service. Being the person that I am, I certainly took that up, and I said I'd be happy to. I thought, my goodness, how much more can a person do or handle at this given time? Well, the first part of June, I was put into isolation at the hospital and given radioactive iodine. The most anyone could be in contact with me was a total 20 minutes per day. So to be quite honest with you, the days were very, very lonely, but at the same time, it really gave me an opportunity to think about all that had happened and just to get my head on and just think. And it was kind of a nice 3 days, honestly, but it was certainly different not being among my family and people. As I had mentioned, my nonprofit had become very, very admired by a lot of different people, and I was put in a national publication, Women's World, that came and interviewed me. I've been in Inspired Woman, North Dakota Living, and some of the pink scarf recipients that I have given scarves to are two of the U.S. Supreme Court Justices, Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I received a thank you note from each of them. Also, Nancy Reagan received one, Elizabeth Edwards, Olivia Newton-John, and there's just a ton of others that have received it. And I think one of the best stories that I have is that there was a gal that she said, I've always loved Christmas because we get presents. And she goes, but when I received your scarf in the mail, it was the best present I ever received in my life. She said, I started to cry. She said, I can't believe that somebody would care about me and send me such a valuable and priceless gift. That's what it was like, and I knew what that felt like because I too received one of my scarves. My pink scarf has donated nearly 12,000 scarves to women in 35 states and 14 countries. There's been a various walk of life who have knit or crocheted those scarves. Civic organizations have made them. Also, they've been in, I've included them or been asked to include them in high school projects, and also I've had incarcerated men make them, and that in itself was an amazing experience because I can't think of a time when the pink scarf or a pink yarn is popular, but it was in this unit with these gentlemen, and the talent that they had was absolutely extraordinary. I was really taken back by, number one, the effort that they put forth and the quality of work that they did. It was really an amazing experience. One of the gentlemen that was incarcerated had got my attention. He said, hey, the next time you come out, would I be able to speak with you for a while? And I said, sure. And he said, I've been doing a lot of good work for you, and I just want to ask you a favor in return. And I said, I'd be happy to help. What can I do? And he said, would you be willing to buy me some black and white yarn? And I thought to myself, how does that fit into my mission? And he said, I've been incarcerated the whole time, and I have a son who I've never met, and I want to crochet him an Afghan. So when I get out, I can give it to him. I said, oh my gosh, I'd be happy to do that. So I went and picked up the yarn, and I made that man so very happy. It was just truly overwhelming. In December of 2016, it was December 14th actually, it was my birthday, I was scheduled to go in for my annual exam and mammogram, and I did so, and there was something about that day that just struck me. I knew something wasn't right. I went and did I got my mammogram done, and the nurse who I've seen how many years, she said, we'll see you next year. And I said to her at that time, I said, I think I'm going to hear from you sooner than that. And she just laughed and shrugged it off and went on her way. I was so right. About 2 hours later, I was called and told that there was something on my mammogram. So I was scheduled for surgery, and it was cancerous. Luckily, I caught it early. My oncologist put out my treatment, gave me my treatment plan, and because I didn't know what was all involved, I just said, okay. And one thing that I've never really formed an opinion on, I guess I was really undecided, but during this process, the oncologist said, would you be willing to do some genetic testing? He knew that I was adopted. I told him that I was adopted, so I didn't know my family history. And he goes, that really gives us a better reason to do some genetic testing. And so he did, or we did. And that test came back, really didn't give him much information. Well, it was up to this point, I had been trying to find my biological parents, just so I would know my medical history. And lo and behold, I did find out that my mother had died the year before, but she had 2 sisters, and I was able to get in touch with them. They live near me. I can go visit them at any time. And it was really interesting because both those women had cancer, breast cancer. My mother did not. So because of that, I have 2 daughters, and I wanted to ensure that they weren't in line for breast cancer. So I proceeded with treatment, and knowing what I had found out, I shared with my oncologist. He said, there's one genetic test that I really think you need to consider. And I asked him about more information, if he could share more information with me, and he certainly did. But this test alone was over $10,000 just to have it done. And I said, I don't have money to spend for this genetic test. And he goes, you'll never believe this. He said, but the person that, or the company that does the genetic testing, they pay for it. And I said, well, then I'm all in. And so they did the genetic testing, and we got a lot more information. And based on that information, my oncologist decided to switch my treatment up 180. And so he was beyond grateful to have this information, since we were kind of going down a narrow road before that, and he was able to do that. I will tell you that the treatment was tough. I couldn't imagine what people have gone through. I'd seen people go through it, and it looked horrendous, but until you actually go through something, you really never know what it's like. My mom always taught me to advocate for myself, for my health, and I've done that all my life. And this was going to be no different. During treatment, it's brutal. I was having a lot of side effects from the chemo that I was taking, and I had, for whatever reason, I had headaches quite a bit, and they weren't migraines; they were just brutal, brutal headaches. And I remember, spending quite a bit of time going to the ER because my oncologist said this is not typical of chemotherapy, and I said, well, I don't have headaches, so the only thing that's changed in this situation is the chemo. Well, I was becoming very familiar in the ER, and the only thing that would provide me any relief was morphine. And I, not liking to be on drugs, was getting a little bit tired of doing this. But one of the last times I went into the ER, I was really taken back and very, very hurt because I had come in, I had thought about going in for 6 hours that day. In fact, my daughter was at home and she said, Mom, you really should go in because I know you're not feeling well. And I said, oh, maybe it'll get better. And she goes, Mom, would you please go in? I just really think you should. Well, she took me in that day after 6 hours of my thinking about it, and I came in to register normally. There was a new person at the desk registering me, and she said, oh, I see you're in here frequently. And I said, yeah. And she goes, are you here for your drugs? And I just broke down because I'm not that person. I am not a drug seeker. I was strictly there for help. And, as I've always lived my life, you should never judge a book by its cover. And so I proceeded to go on. And another valuable little bit of information about myself is when I was going through cancer and chemo, I lost my hair. And it was kind of funny. I had a friend that was a gentleman. He had a bald head. And anytime I'd see him, I'd say, hey, Doris, can I feel your head? Because he was bald. And he'd just laugh and let me feel his head. And so it was during chemotherapy that my hair started coming out, as we all know, and just gobs of it. You can just see it go down the drain in the sink. And I decided I just had enough of my hair falling out, and I went down to the barber and I said, hey, would you be willing to shave my head? And he goes, are you sure about this? And I said, yes, I am. So he shaved my head, and it felt good. It felt kind of weird, but it was kind of cool in the same time because now I could feel my own bald head. I, of course, like many other women, went in and had some wigs made, and I had 3 of them. And so I didn't wear them very much because I wanted to use my being bald as a way to start the conversation. There was a lot of people that would stare at me wherever I went, a lot of men, women, but the men were most curious. And I think the thing that I was so proud of is that, some of these women had not been in to see their doctor for quite some time. And it was because of the conversations that I had with people that it prompted them to go in. In fact, I had 2 very, very good friends that hadn't been in for a physical, and I bet over 20 years, and due to my battle, they chose to go in. Luckily, both of them, came out with very good results, and I was so appreciative that just by being and going bald, it prompted 2 people, and I thought, if it's prompted 2, I'm sure there's a lot more. I just wanted to spread the word about how important I thought annual exams are, as well as mammograms. I was a single mother going through cancer, and I guess I tried to appear very, very I had to hold it all together when times really were tough, and I did that for my 2 girls. They were troopers during that whole time period. But I think the thing that I'm so very, very proud of is that, here they could have really let this diagnosis, from what they saw and heard, really affect their life negatively. But instead, what happened was they excelled. They did so well in school. They were on the dean's list all the time, and they just, oh my gosh, it was just incredible to see this. And it just brought me to tears because I thought something that I was battling was really going to be a detriment to them, and I was proven otherwise, and so I was grateful for that opportunity. I had a great support system. I have great family and friends, and my Pink Scarf community really rallied behind me at the time. And I really, 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 for the first time, understood what those women were going through. Even though our treatments are different, we've all been through something, and it's truly like no other experience. It's kind of amazing that when you sit and go into chemo, everybody's willing to talk and everybody's willing to share their story, and it's just like a whole nother little family that you get, you're part of, and it's truly the most amazing thing that a person can go through. My Pink Scarf has done some amazing work, and there is so much more work to be done. I'm so proud of what I've accomplished, and because I've had cancer and survived twice, I choose to live my best life, and I would love to I'm already a motivational speaker, but I would like to get on a speaking circuit to talk about this, to bring the awareness to more people. I just think sometimes we just need to be reminded and hear it from somebody who's been, had their feet on the ground. I also would like to travel around the world to various cancer units, just speaking with cancer patients. I love talking with people, and I would love to be, having these, just making these connections with people and sharing my experience and my travels with them. And ultimately, I will be writing a book about this. When I started, I was talking about how I felt my life was like a puzzle, and I had to live my life in order to gain those puzzle pieces. And man, it's just truly, truly been so amazing that this many things can happen to one person, and there's a whole lot more that feeds into my story. But I've chosen to live my best life, and I'm going to cover the globe in pink scarves and grow my nonprofit so it becomes a household name. I just think it's that important. I think the people that I serve, it's that important, and so I'm so very, very excited. I would like to close with a little poem that I ran across, and it just makes me smile. If ever anybody is ever feeling down or whatnot, I pull this out, and I'd like to read it to you. It's all about attitude. It said, "There once was a woman who woke up one morning, looked in the mirror, and noticed she only had 3 hairs on her head. 'Well,' she said, 'I think I'll braid my hair today.' So she did, and she had a wonderful day. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, and saw that she only had 2 hairs on her head. 'She said, 'I think I'll part my hair down the middle today.' So she did, and she had a grand day. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, and noticed that she had only 1 hair on her head. 'Well,' she said, 'today I'm going to wear my hair in a ponytail.' So she did, and she had a fun day. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, and noticed that there wasn't a single hair on her head. 'Yay!' she exclaimed. 'I don't have to fix my hair today.'" Moral of the story is attitude is everything. If you'd like to know more about my pink scarf and more about me, you're welcome to send me a private message. I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you today, and I'd love to connect up with whoever is interested. And I wanted to thank David for this great opportunity. This is a great idea to hear what other people are doing and just make those connections. So with that being said, I'll say goodbye and enjoy your weekend.